Hello, a drag race between my old ThinkPad P52s that I've had since 2018 and is still a really good laptop for me, and this B-Link EQ12 Pro. They are both 8-thread machines. This is a 4-core, 8-thread. I believe it's an Intel i7 8650U 4-core, 8-thread. This is the new kind of interesting i3 processor, 12th generation. It is also eight threads, but it's 8 cores as well. So it's no hyperthreading per core, and it's all Intel efficiency cores. So it's an i3. It's the i3 N305. Another difference between these two machines is this has 32 gigabytes of RAM. This is only going to have 16. This has kind of a really much faster I/O system. It's set up with 2 SSDs, B-cache, quick latency, still PCIe Gen 3, as is this. But these have very slow one-lane PCIe Gen 3 connectivity. So this is 4 full lanes with a caching drive. So the storage is going to be a lot of difference between these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to run my first ever Geekbench benchmarking to compare the two, and then I'll probably drag race them, outputting a video, rendering a video, probably from a previous project. So let's first thing to do is to unbox this, put Linux on it, and then we will race them against one another. Okay, so here we have our box. Let's see what's inside of this. Okay, so we have a user manual. Packaging. This is exactly like the B-Link S12 Mini. We have a box of accessories over here. Power supply is in here. As many people have commented on, it's kind of nice that they provide two HDMI cables. One shorty that's maybe useful with the VESA mount. That's all we have in there. And then we have the Mini itself. Again, this is the B-Link. Oh, it's off to a good start. The B-Link EQ12 Pro, which looks a lot like the Minis. See, it's the same kind of. I have one over here. Let me grab that. Yeah, we're treating all the hardware with respect today. All right, so you can see they're very similar form factor, right? This is actually, the EQ is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit better padded feet, but I really appreciate on both of them that the screws are external instead of hidden under a foot. That's super nice. The I/O is, of course, going to be a little bit different. On the EQ12 Pro, it has dual 2.5 gigabit per second Ethernet, which is something I want to test. I want to see how fast it is. And other than that, very, very similar form factors. Not really much different look to each of these computers. So let's go ahead and put Linux on this and start our drag race. One of the pieces of I/O that I neglected here is it does have USB-C on the back. So I'm going to use my convertible SanDisk from USB-A to USB-C with my installer that's installed on this thumb drive. Let's go ahead and make sure we have HDMI connectivity too. Let's see if we can get it to start. I'm going to guess that we have to mash delete here. Mashing delete got us right into the BIOS. So I'm going to spare you the installation process. installing Linux is, especially Ubuntu that I'm using right here, is really pretty easy. So one of the minor issues I ran into was I'm installing from a USB pen drive. It is an offline install right now because the network's down in my office. So I don't have this plugged into Ethernet. And the older version of Linux that comes with the installer doesn't have the drivers for the network card that's in here, which is good. It means it's a newer Intel network card. So I just had to grab a dongle to get on wireless here. Now we can do sudo apt install. Really is nice to have a wireless dongle around, an old one that Linux can recognize. Sudo apt install, I think it's kden live, one word. Sudo snap install kden live. Okay, it's available as a snap. After this, I'll run update and update all the software. We'll speed through that. Then we'll do some drag racing after that. Okay, so here we are going to run Geekbench on the B-Link EQ12 Pro, and I'll speed this up. Okay, here's running Geekbench on the P52s laptop. Okay, we have some results on Geekbench. The Intel Core i7 8650U and the notebook with 32 gigabytes of RAM. We got a 1501 for the single core score and a multi-core score of 4,694. If we go over and look at the EQ12 Pro, we see we fall off by about 100, well, exactly 100 on the single core score, but we improve to 5,490 from 4,694, and that's a pretty convincing win for the EQ12 Pro. I had a look a minute ago at some of the sub scores. Sometimes on the multi-core, at least in one category, one test, the P52 came out on top, but it fell behind on most of the multi-core scores. So yeah, I mean, one of the conclusions I think we can already draw is that there is some kind of parity with a high-end-ish Intel Core i7 8650U from this 2018 notebook, which by the way has faster storage as well, versus the brand new 12th generation i3, which is the least of all i3s, being 8 efficiency cores, but its multi-core score came out a little bit on top, probably because it doesn't have hyper-threading per core. These are 8 individual cores competing against a notebook with 8 threads but 4 cores. So, but yeah, pretty close in general. I think we're to the point where very low-end 12th generation is keeping up with relatively high-end 8th generation. Let's go ahead and do the drag race though. Let's pit these against each other in rendering a video and see what that turns up. Okay, so let's do the drag race. What we're going to do is render out on both machines the 8-top Nook MA91 $79 dual 2.5 Gbps video, which is the last little video I published. Let's start this one. And let me reach over here to the laptop and start this one. I'll leave them on the screen. Obviously, they're not starting on this at the same time, but they do, in fact, yeah, the output file already exists. They do, in fact, report the time that it takes. So we'll just speed through this and see how they do. It's going to be an utter wipeout. An utter wipeout. Oops, getting the light wrong there. There we go. You can see that the ATOP NUC's running around, it'll be around 98 feet per second, frames per second, 100 frames per second. And it's just about to finish. Let's hang on here. Boom, rendering finished in 2 minutes and 36 seconds. So I'm just gonna focus in here on the old laptop, which again has much more memory, much faster storage. Oh, set this up here. Oh, tripod's falling down because the camera's heavier than the tripod. Well, we'll let that one play out and see where it ends. See how it compares to 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Well, there you have it. The old PC's running around 50 frames per second. It's about to finish. It finishes in 6 minutes and 27 seconds compared to 2 minutes and 36 seconds on the same settings to export the same project to an MP4. And yeah, that's definitely going to be because the EQ12 Pro has much newer QuickSync technology on it, much better hardware support for crushing out MP4 videos than this older laptop that has. I'll put it on the screen. I don't recall off the top of my head. It's running a Nvidia mobile chip from 2018, which wasn't a terribly powerful Nvidia mobile chip to begin with. So yeah, and that's probably the reason for the huge victory for the EQ12 Pro. That and its multi-core scores are a little bit faster, and independent CPUs instead of hyper-threading, etc. It has quite a bit of a decent advantage in video rendering. Okay, that's what I have for you. I thought it would be fun to drag race the two and see how they're doing. Definitely, in conclusion, definitely at least the EQ12 Pro, this new generation of mini PCs based on Intel efficiency cores, it can definitely skunk an old 8650U CPU with an older Nvidia dedicated graphics card. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.